Hello everyone, we are going to be starting this month's CCENT CCNA study group here shortly. So if you're just joining us, sit tight, grab a cup of coffee, use the restroom really quick, and we will be starting here in about another 4 minutes. If you're tuning in, feel free to drop a hello in the chat. Let me know you're there. Make sure you can hear me. Like I said, we're going to be starting our this month's CCENT CCNA study group here shortly. Alrighty, just getting ready to start here. I see some people are starting to file in here. We're going to start our this month's CCENT CCNA study group here shortly. So, if you're just joining us, drop a chat in the chat. Let me know you're there. Let me know you can hear me good. All right. Welcome everyone to this month's CCENT CCNA study group. I know I've been a little, haven't been putting out a lot of content lately, haven't put out a lot of videos. I have been traveling a lot lately. So, I had the weekend and I figured, well, let's go ahead and do a study group. As many of you may know, I'm currently studying to renew my CCENT CCNA certification. So currently I'm studying for my CCENT, my ICND 1, and then upon passing that, I'm going to start on my ICND 2. So just like I did with my A+, I think these study groups are a great tool to help learn, hopefully help you guys learn for those of you who out there are studying for your CCENT or CCNA certifications. So with that said, let's get this started. If If you're like me and studying for your CCNA or any other IT certification, make sure and check out Pluralsight. With over 5,000 different IT courses to offer and key tools such as mobile content and practice exams, Pluralsight is one of the leading IT e-learning platforms. Use the link in the description to receive a free 10-day trial. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you for tuning in today. My name is Dakota with IT Career Skills, and today I am hosting our monthly CCENT CCNA study group. I don't have an exact day of the month I host these. I at least try to get one out every single month. So, as I said in the intro, I am currently studying for my CCENT certification, and then moving on to my ICND2 CCNA certification and route switch. So, I use these as a good study tool, and hopefully I can help a lot of you in the process. So, this month, we had our very first one last month, and this month I did a little bit different. So this month I've actually brought up a little bit of a Q&A with this. So where I just got a couple questions set up, some questions that you possibly might kind of see on CCNA, CCENT exam. So with that said, let's go ahead and dive right in. As we're going along through these questions, if you happen to know the answer, feel free to drop them in the chat. Also in this process, if you have any other questions, feel free and drop them in the chat. I'll do my best to answer them. So with that said, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, very first question today. Which three statements about networking characteristics are true? And choose three. So, A, we have speed as a measure of data rate in bits per second of a given link in a network. B, scalability indicates how many nodes are currently in the network. C, the logical topology is the arrangement of cables in a network, devices, and the end systems. D, availability is measured in the probability that the network will be available for use when it is required. Or E, reliability indicates the dependability of the components that makes up the network. So which of three of these statements is true about a network characteristic? Your network characteristics. I see some people are starting to chime in the chat. Welcome. If you happen to know the answer, I want you guys to pick three. No going out and Googling these questions. Act like you're actually in a Cisco lab, act like you're actually sitting there at the desk, ready for the exam, and these questions were in front of you. So if you don't know, do your best, just kind of pick what you think might be the correct answer here. A lot of people chiming in. A, D, E, A, B, D. So we got a little bit of variety. All right. So which three statements about network characteristics are true? The answers. A, D, and E is the correct answer. So it looks like someone got it right in the chat there. So speed is a measure of the data rates in bits per second of a given link in the network. And then availability is a measure of the probability that a network will be available for use when is required. Reliability indicates the dependability of the components that make up the network. So A, D, and E were correct. Awesome. All right, well, let's go ahead and move on to the next one. Which two statements about the purpose of the OSI model are accurate? Choose two. So we're talking about the OSI model here. Which two statements are true? A, defines the network function that occurs at each. A, defines the network function that occurs at each. B, facilitates and understanding of how information travels through the network. C, ensures reliable data delivery through the layered approach. Or D, changes in one layer do not impact other layers. So which two statements are true here? So if you don't know what the OSI model is, I really suggest, go out there, start studying, find what kind of study material works for you. Personally, I am using CBT Nuggets to study for my CCENT certification, and it is awesome. They have some great content over there. And then I'm also have my own lab, physical lab that you guys will see later in the video when we start actually doing some physical labs on actual Cisco equipment. So, which two statements about the purpose of the OSI model are accurate? The answers: A and D defines the network functions that occur at each, and then facilitates an understanding of how information travels through the network. Awesome. And if you guys missed that, don't worry. The purpose of these study groups is to help prepare you for what might be on one of these exams. So, all right, cruising right along. Which statements about a LAN switch are true? And which statement about a LAN switch is true? A, LAN switches include more broadcast domains than bridges. B, LAN switches supply each Ethernet station with deterministic shared bandwidth. C, LAN switches are the predecessors of the multi-port bridge. Or D, LAN switches reduce the scope of the collision domain. So, which statement is true about a LAN switch? And if you know the difference between a bridge and a switch, a hub, which no one even uses those anymore, this should be a pretty easy answer. What statement is true? A, B, C, or D? Awesome. Alrighty. Well, this one should be pretty easy, so let's go ahead and reveal the answer here. It is, of course, D. A LAN switch reduces the scope of the collision domain. Awesome. Alright. Next question. Which of the following protocols are used to auto-negotiate trunk information between two switches? Which of the following protocols are used to auto-negotiate trunk information between two switches? A, CDP. B, VTP. C, DTP. Or D, STP. And every one of these is actually an actual protocol used on Cisco devices. But which of the following protocols are used to auto-negotiate trunk information between two switches? See some answers there. If you don't know, go ahead and just drop a guess in the chat. Go ahead. It's Techie, I think, has got it right there. The answer is C, DTP, Dynamic Trunking Protocol. So, alrighty, and really quick, I want to kind of go over what these other ones are. So, here we have CDP, which is Cisco Discovery Protocol. VTP, which is VLAN Trunking Protocol. We already know what DTP is, Dynamic Trunking Protocol. And D, which is STP, Spanning Tree Protocol. So, awesome. Alrighty. Well, let's go ahead and go on to our very last question I got here, but I have more after this. We're going to go ahead and jump on some physical equipment, but this is the last for the multiple choice questions. Subnetting, everyone's favorite topic. How many subnets are created from a Class C address space that using a /29 subnet mask? So I know everyone loves subnetting, and you know what? You can't avoid it because it is part of your daily routine when you become a networking engineer, when you're working on Cisco devices. So it's best just to get it down, understand how subnetting works. And actually, I plan on putting out a video here in the next few days, going in more depth and explaining what subnetting is. But your choices are, for this question, how many subnets are created from a Class C address space that's using a /29 subnet mask? A, 16, B, 128, C, 64, D, 32, E, 8, or F, 4. How many subnets are created from a Class C address space using a /29 subnet mask? Yeah, subnetting is difficult. I always struggled with it. So back in high school, I was lucky enough. My high school offered a CCNA program back before ICD 1 and 2 days. It was just CCNA route and switch. So back then I studied subnetting and I struggled with it. Nowadays it comes a little bit easier to me. But every single day I'm in contact with, Cisco switches and networks and all that. So it's a little bit easier for me, but just looking at it off the top of my head, I still struggle like, I don't know, you know what I mean? So it can be difficult at times. But you know what? Just take a stab at it, guys. Just throw a guess out in the chat and, we'll work through this. Awesome. All right. Well, it looks like everyone's may have answered by now. So the correct answer is D, 32. So, like I said, I was planning on going into more about subnetting in today's video, but I think subnetting is such a big topic and so many people struggle with it. I'm going to create a whole separate video just about subnetting. So, awesome, guys. I really thank you for, participating in the, multiple choice there. I see a lot of you are chiming in the chat. So next, let's go ahead and fire up a switch. So while we wait here, you can see here we have my wonderful home lab. I got 3 routers here and 2 switches. You don't need all this equipment for a home lab. I got a killer deal on it though, so I went ahead and got it. So what here I have here, and I have links to all this equipment in the description below if you want to end up building your own home lab to practice on and stuff. But we have 3 2960 routers here. I think 2600 series routers. So I have 3 2600 series routers, 2950 24 port switch, and a 3550 48 port switch. And today, for this, we're mainly going to be working on the 3550 switch right here, the 48 port switch. So as you can see here, it is starting up. I didn't have it running beforehand because I wanted, I didn't want the noise. I don't know if you guys can hear it. The fans in these things can be noisy sometimes. So, Class C is 24. So, you borrow 5 from 29. It's 32. Yeah, there you go. Awesome. Sorry, I was just reading on the chat there. If you guys are just joining us, this is this month's CCENT CCNA study group. And what we're going to be doing here shortly, once this switch fires up, is we're going to do some basic configurations, and then we're going to be building out some VLANs, and I'm going to kind of walk you through the steps on how to build out VLANs on a Cisco switch. So, as you can see, this is what you'll typically see if you are console cabled into a switch as it's powering on. So, and so there's been a lot of talk lately out there about if you're studying for a Cisco exam, if you should have physical hardware or if you should do virtual labs. And it's really up to you. Personally, I am a strong believer, especially when you're first starting out in the networking realm, having physical equipment to put your hands on. Being able to, actually run wires between switches and having your physical equipment. This equipment will only get you so far in your certification path, though. You are eventually going to have to move to a virtualized environment like Packet Tracer, GNS3, or so on. But when you're first starting out on your CCENT, your CCNA, and even part of your CCNT, CCNP certifications, having this physical equipment is really nice. But if you're working on a tight budget, then absolutely, Packet Tracer is a great resource for you. So, I just think I'm a very hands-on learner, so having this equipment here is really beneficial, I think. So. All right. So, the switch is still starting. You can see I haven't put an initial configuration in it. All right. So now we are at the switch. So very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and enter enabled mode. And if you saw our study group last month, we talked about this a little bit. I apologize. The text is actually kind of small, hard to read. Let's fix that really quick here for you guys. Okay. There we go. A little bit better now. So, the difference between standard user mode and enabled mode is there's only certain commands you can execute in a certain mode. So in enable mode, once you go into enable mode, you see this hash symbol or pound sign after the name of your actual device. So certain commands you only can run in enable mode. So one of the first things we're going to do is we're going to change the name of the switch. We're going to set the name. So we're going to, So we're going to enter configure terminal, config T for short. And we're going to say, so we just set the host name. We entered the command host name SW01. So you can see right here, the name of our switch changed to SW01. So let's go ahead and we're going to exit out of configuration mode. And we're going to do a show running configuration just to see what we got here already. So a show run. So as we can see, it's a little, so I have the text a little bit big. It's a little difficult to see here. This is, host name, subnet, and then it'll show a bunch of information of all our ports here. I don't expect you guys to see this because, there's 48 ports that have no configuration to them. So, and then we can see interface VLAN 1 has no IP address and it's also shut down. So with that said, let's go ahead and configure VLAN. So, so configuration terminal, and let's see, VLAN. Let's go ahead and let's do 10 first. So VLAN 10. So now we just said, okay, we want to configure VLAN 10. So it's going to create the VLAN, and we're entering configure in VLAN. And let's go ahead and name it so we just know. And for those of you who don't know what VLAN is, I guess I should have talked on this first. So VLAN is a virtual LAN network. It's a way to segment your network within the router. So let's say you have a sales team and then you have a managers, and you don't want the manager seeing what the sales team is working on. The one way you could do that is with a VLAN, and even though those computers are plugged into the exact same switch, the computer over here in the sales department and is on a different VLAN than the computer over here in the manager's office. So so here, VLAN 10 will be for the sales team. And then let's go ahead and exit out of that. And then let's do VLAN 20. Name is managers. So when we exit out, we do a show run. Shows us our running configuration. Oops, sorry, show VLAN. There we go. So we see VLAN 10 is named sales. It is active, but it's not currently assigned to any ports. VLAN 20, named managers, is active, and it's not currently assigned to any ports. So we can go in further and configure each VLAN with like an IP address and so on. But let's go ahead and assign one of these ports to VLAN 10. So we're going to enter configuration terminal again. And we're going to configure, let's go ahead and configure port 5 right here. This port. So, and we're going to configure port 5 on the as on the sales VLAN. So, interface fast Ethernet 0-5. So now we're going to configure IF as a configure interface, and we're going to configure it as an access port. Oops. All right. Switch port access VLAN 10. So, exit. So, we can see right here, interface fast Ethernet 5, which would be this one right here. I know it's probably hard for you guys to see. So this one right here is now connected to VLAN 10, but it has no other configurations. So, but we just created a virtual network within this network. Now let's go ahead and configure interface number 6 for managers. Oops, 6. So one thing with Cisco routers is, you don't actually have to spell out the full command. You can just fill out the first couple characters, and it'll know what you're talking about. So one way to see that is you start typing and you hit the tab key, and see it fills in the rest of it for me. Oops. If you type the right command. Oops. Okay, there we go. So Fast Ethernet 5 is configured with the VLAN of 10, while 6, the port right next to it, is configured to VLAN 20. So there we go. We have built-in isolation within the switch. So these two computers can be plugged in literally one above the other, and they both will be on their own separate VLANs. So no shutdown. That is another good command to know. Currently it doesn't say it's shut down, but one thing you could always do just to make sure. Sorry, must be. There we go. Okay, apparently I couldn't type there. there's a no shutdown command, which would actually open the port. Let's go ahead and shut it down though. So see, fast Ethernet changed to administratively down. So if we were to to show the running configuration, we can currently see that this port is shut down. So one last little tool I want to show you before I leave or before we end the live stream today is recently I had a switch that we suspected was power cycling itself, and you know, one little thing I had to research because I apparently didn't know off the top of my head. I wanted to check the uptime of the switch. So what you can do your show version, and right here in the show version, SW02 uptime is 12 minutes. System return to ROM by power on. So this tells you that the uptime of the switch has been for 12 minutes, and the reason, and then the last time it came on was because the device powered on. It wasn't reset internally. This here can be a huge troubleshooting tool, I found out, and you know, is what ended up figuring out why the switch was going down. You know, it was actually a failing power supply in the device. The switch would reset itself every couple of minutes. So the show version command is an awesome tool to know, to have in your back pocket for, you know, troubleshooting tips. All right, let me jump over to some questions here. Sorry, my screens are kind of. Let me pull up my chat here. Okay. It's Techie. I plan on scheduling my CCENT for sometime in April. During this final stretch, I will be using 31 Days Before Your CCENT Routing and Switching Exam book by Alan John. Super nervous. Well, awesome. And then later on you asked, do you have any idea when I'm planning on scheduling my exam? I currently don't. Reason being, I am traveling a lot for work. You know, this week I'm actually taking an exam. We use a lot of Cisco Meraki gear, so I am going after my Monday. I'm taking ECMS 1, which is Engineering Cisco Meraki Solutions 1, and then hopefully in a couple months after that, I'm taking my ECMS 2 class, which is Engineering Cisco Meraki Solutions 2, to get my Cisco Meraki certification. So that's kind of my focus right now. And then in a few weeks, I'm traveling to a new property we are building and deploying full stack network. We got a lot of work we're doing, so I don't have a time frame I really set aside yet for my exam. I'm hoping probably the end of April, but I have a lot of studying to do, and I just want to make sure I do a good job when I go in there. So yeah, and I kind of apologize, guys. This wasn't a super clean live stream like I normally do, but you know, I felt like it's been a while since I've been out here talking to you guys, and I really want to you know, work on some of my Cisco gear and come out and chat to you guys. So thanks it's Techie. Said good luck on my exam. Yeah, I'm super nervous about it. It's been a while since I've taken a Cisco exam, so you know, I think it should be a good exam. So it's a great certification to have. It's a great certification to have in your tool belt. So, you know, and good luck on your exam, your CCENT exam. So, I personally books I'm using. Let's see, remember actually the names of the books off the top of my head. I apologize. They're linked down in the chat below. So for like a lot of my lab work I'm doing, I'm using the 101 101 labs for Cisco CCENT exam. The link to that book is down in the description below. And then, you know, of course, I have this book. I actually found it at a bookstore a while back, but it's still a really good book. It's CCNA Routing Switching Portable Command Guide. So if I'm sitting at a CLI like this, and I don't oops. I can't think of a good command. I whip out this little book that's it's almost the size you can keep it in your back pocket, and you can look up the command really quick, and that just keeps your learning flow going. I just find it really nice and useful. So awesome. Well, again, thank you guys for tuning in. If you haven't already, make sure and like and subscribe. If you have any recommendations for future videos you'd like to see or things you'd like me to do on the channel, make sure and drop it in the chats below. So, again, thank you everyone. Thank you. It's Techie and for tuning in, and hope to see you on the next live stream.